International Publishing, everybody wins. On behalf of Data Conversion Laboratory and Really Strategies, we're happy that you're able to join us. We realize your time is very important, and we think we have a presentation that will be well worth your investment. Just to kind of go over what we'll be covering over the course of the next hour, I'd like to go over a few housekeeping rules and then discuss the results of a couple of questions that we asked you during the registration process. Then I'd like to give our webinar sponsors, Data Conversion Laboratory and Really Strategies, a brief moment to go introduce themselves, and then we'll get into Anthony Allen's presentation. At the end of the presentation, we will be asking questions, or answering your questions. So just a few housekeeping notes. Today's webinar is being recorded, and it will be available to you along with the questions and answers. We will provide a web page that will have all these resources along with the slide deck. As I mentioned, Anthony will be taking questions at the end of the presentation. If you have a question, you'll notice that you have a box called questions. Please use that to go enter your question, and I will pose them to Anthony at the end of his presentation. We'll also be having a poll about halfway through. Your participation will help Mr. Allen tailor the presentation to your needs by answering exactly what you're answering. So if you'll recall, we asked a couple of questions during the registration process. The first one was, has your organization looked at XML? And it was interesting to me that roughly 2/3 of the registration answers were yes. Either we are implementing it, we plan to implement it, and the other 25% was yes, we're operational. 18% of you said no, and 13 said, well, we've looked at it, but we don't have a plan to implement it. The other question was, what format is the majority of your content in? And I guess it's no surprise that because you're interested in the subject, that most of you have desktop publishing formats like Word, Quark, and Frame, and I suspect a lot of your the material that is being provided to you comes in those formats. Markup language, SGML, HTML, XML accounted for roughly 30%, and the remaining 15, 16% was either other or typesetting formats or text formatters. Just as something that would help me, if you answered other, I would appreciate if you could just send me a note and say, hey, our other was blah, 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 blah. And so that would help me understand what your formats are in. So without any further ado, I'm going to introduce Linda Marone. Linda is the new VP of Sales and Marketing at Data Conversion Laboratory. Good afternoon, Linda.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us. Established in 1981, DCL is a woman-owned company located in Fresh Meadows, New York. We are the pioneer in defining and developing the emerging data conversion industry and a founding member of the SGML user group. As you will hear Anthony speak of shortly, it is critical that your data is able to support all processes to improve overall efficiency, increase profits, and so on for your organizations. The world has become an extremely data-centric environment, with each destination requiring a specific data format in order to interact accordingly. This is where our expertise actually comes into play, making certain your data is converted to meet the needs and the demands that are placed on it. As you will see, DCL serves a variety of industries, including technical documentation, publishing, technical societies, manufacturing, aerospace, government, defense, health sciences, and libraries and universities. We have extensive experience with all the key DTTs, including DITA, EPUB, MOBI, S1000D, ATA, NLM, DocBook, TEI, and so on. By the way, I do encourage you also to sign up for our monthly newsletter if you are not already on the list. It is devoted to HTML and XML and electronic publishing topics, and I think you will find the articles to be quite interesting, all related obviously to data and content management. Thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoy the webinar.
Thank you, Linda. That was good. Our other sponsor is Really Strategies, and on behalf of Really Strategies, I would like to welcome Marianne Callahan. She is the VP of Marketing and at Really Strategies. Marianne?
Thank you, Don. Hello, everyone. My name is Marianne Callahan, and I am the Marketing Manager at Really Strategies. I'd like to offer a quick background on Really Strategies. We were founded in 2000 as a publishing consultant company and are specialists in XML-based editorial and production and content management solutions. We offer 3 content management products: RSuite, RSuite Cloud, and DocZone. Today's webinar will feature some information on RSuite, an enterprise content management system that was designed specifically for publishers. You can flip to the next slide, Don. Thank you. Our business serves more than 100 publishers and technical publishers spanning several verticals within publishing, and that includes scientific, technical, and medical, educational publishers, media companies, and technical publishing organizations. The next slide, thank you. As I mentioned, RSuite is a content management system for publishers, but we envision the system as a strategic tool in a publishing environment. We believe that publishers can accelerate revenue and profit growth through better content management. How can they do that? Well, with a strategic content repository, you can rapidly embrace new opportunities for your content. You can repackage existing content into new products, and you can decrease time to market with products by eliminating slow conversions because the CMS can actually automate processes. Well, Don, I'd like to return it back to you and Anthony.
Thank you, Marianne. That was informative, and I guess without any further ado, I would like to introduce our next, our main speaker, Anthony Allen. Anthony is the Director of Production at the American Society for Training and Development, where he manages a wide range of print and digital content products. Anthony is also an adjunct professor of technology at the George Mason College of Visual and Performing Arts and has previously worked in media production at the Discovery Studios and CIA. So without any further delay, I'm going to turn things over to Anthony. So Anthony,
great, thanks, Don.
It's yours.
Can you see my first slide?
If you will click the
oh, they're showing my screen. Okay. Mm-hmm. Great. One sec. There we go. Now, can you see the first slide?
Yes, sir.
Great. So, just to start off, Marianne's kind of summary of the power of RSuite and XML is really spot on. It's on the business side, quicker time to market, opportunities. It's all of those things. And my thing is really the business of digital publishing, how to increase revenue and decrease expenses with XML and with digital workflows. That's what drives me, and that's what I'm going to be talking about today. The company that I work for is a small publisher, and with the commitment that we made to getting our content into XML and the commitment to XML workflows, we've been able to do those things that Marianne described. We've been able to increase revenue and decrease expenses, but do it like a company that's twice or 3 times our size. And so that's what I'm going to be talking about today, kind of everything that went into that process and the transformation of our company and the way that we produce and reuse and monetize content. So I usually start out these things by telling the people I'm talking to really what my point is up front, so that if you choose to take a nap or surf the web, you can do so without incredible feelings of guilt. So here's my point, and hopefully you guys can see the second slide up on the screen. Don, you can tell me if I don't. But the more departments that benefit from your XML and intelligent content solution, the more successful your solution will be. So when you convert your content from like a book or a magazine or a newsletter into XML, you're adding this level of enrichment, of intelligence, so that there's an awareness of what an author is and what the deck is and what the topics are. And you want to be able to leverage that knowledge. And the more departments within your organization, because your company is going to be paying the bills for the conversion or to buy a system like RSuite, the more departments that can benefit, sales, marketing, publishing, if you have an international department, the more that benefit, the more successful, the more entrenched in the solution your organization will be. So what I do is I'm going to explain today how all departments at ASTD, at the American Society for Training and Development, benefited from this solution. So ASTD, if you haven't heard of ASTD, don't worry, I didn't either. Don said I came from the Discovery Channel. Before this, I was in video. I had never heard of ASTD or actually gotten any proper training before I got to ASTD. ASTD is the American Society for Training and Development, and we train trainers. So whenever there's a training session at an organization, sales training, project management training, we set the standards by which that training is given. I've been with ASTD for about 3 years. And during that time, we've really changed the way that we produce and think about content. We've really gone from an email and Excel spreadsheet kind of place to an XML kind of place. We are 85 people, about $30 million. We have 45,000 members. We're a member-based organization. And we have, there's about 500,000 people within the United States that have the word training in their title. So that gives you a sense of our audience. So ASTD is not only a member organization, but we're a small publisher. We have 60 years of content in the form of books and newsletters and magazines and workshop materials. And it's all highly reusable. We really do have a living library. There are concepts that are still relevant in the training world today that are over 50 years old. And so the potential for reuse and repackaging is quite high with our content. So goal. We needed to reduce our dependence on email marketing. We're going to the same people over and over again with the same kind of like buy now message. We need to increase the content reuse to meet revenue objectives. If my books program needs to grow by 15% this year, I want to do that without having to make 15% more books. I'm simply too lazy. I want to reuse the stuff that we've done. We need to harness internal content knowledge, and that really has to do with getting new employees up and running and retaining institutional knowledge, so that instead of having to really depend on hiring within the training space, we can reach with outside of the training space, bring expertise in using or technology into ASTD and get them up and running really quickly on our content, because we can find it and we have a very usable library system for our own staff. Reducing production resources is super important, includes time to produce and headcount and time to market, and then making it easier to do business with ASTD. It shouldn't take us a week to draw up a custom content bundle for a customer that wants it. I want our sales team to know exactly where the content is, how to be able to extract it, and bundle it very, very quickly. So just to give you an idea of our content, you'll see here just an example of one of our books. Is called the Ultimate Train the Trainer, and it's you can see that there's charts and graphs and there's some icons there. So it's not free-flowing text. Here's another example. It's called another series title that we have. It's called New Supervisor Training. Again, you can see that these aren't complex chemical equations that we're producing. Certainly, there's more complicated stuff out there, but it's not a fiction book either. So there are definitely some elements, charts, graphs, tables, inline images, lists that we have to deal with. So in terms of our XML, we really didn't do a whole lot to create it. We took our content, starting from left there, we modeled it, and that means kind of creating the conversion specifications to getting it into XML. We chose to use DITA XML, that flavor of XML. We thought that it would suit our purposes better after our research. So we created those conversion specifications, we got it into DITA, and then we tagged our books down to the chapter level and our magazines down to the article level with our taxonomy, which is about 500 items, 500 nodes. It's a pretty flat taxonomy, but it ranges from things like level of expertise, beginner, intermediate, advanced, point of view, audience. It has several hundred training keywords like human capital, talent management, e-learning, and so on. So that's as far as we've gone to constructing our DITA XML. And I'm not here to really talk about how rich our XML is. I'm here to talk about what we've done with it and why. Because, of course, if I go into my boss's office and he says, Anthony, what's going on? I say, oh my God, we have this really great XML. It's so rich and it's enriched, and he's going to say, so what? The bosses don't care about that. They care about the business results. So this is what you see on your screen here is really the XML ecosystem that we've built at ASTD. We have improving production workflow, which is reducing our time to market. We're creating custom packages of content, and that enables our sales team the flexibility to create custom offerings depending on what they're hearing from customers. We're creating better conversions of content into new formats so that we can be where our customers need us to be, enabling very fast tagging and the extended use of our taxonomy into marketing so that we can make sure that we're segmenting our customers in the same way that we're segmenting our content, incredibly important. And then we're creating some really cool apps that give us new marketing channels. It creates new ways of consuming our content, and those apps leverage the DITA XML and the tagging so that I don't have to do anything. So what I'm going to do is just kind of go over each one of these areas, and it'll really paint the picture of how XML is being implemented throughout our organization. So to start off, great place to start is formats. So it really is about using XML as a source format. There's that commitment that you have to make up front before you can reap all the benefits, and that's why I'm here. It's why DCL is here. It's why RSuite is here. Really, Strategies is here. And so ASTD uses, in this kind of like small part of the presentation, we use XML to give us better conversions into different formats and better version control. So here are some examples of these three up here of versions and formats that ASTD transforms its content to automatically through our RSuite CMS. And just we do use the RSuite CMS. Currently, ASTD only has 3 of those transformations. We have EPUB, HTML, and PDF. When we got that up and running, I was very proud of myself. I took a day off and told everybody, wow, this is really, really great. But then, lo and behold, it's never perfect. It's never quite enough for your internal customers. All of a sudden, I got hit with these different requests for all these different variations. Within EPUB, you have EPUB optimized for an iPad and for a Nook. And Kindle, I know Kindle isn't technically EPUB, but I put it in that bucket anyway. PDF, I was getting requests for, hey, can you put this PDF with a cover page? No, I don't want the cover page on it. Can you grab this marketing material out here and actually insert it in between the cover page and page 1 before the table of contents? HTML, we need to push this stuff out to our website, but can you also extract the deck or the first paragraph for search results? So if you take one ASTD book, that's 12 chapters, times 3 formats, times an average of, let's say, 3 different flavors, 3 different versions for each, that's over 100 different things that can come out of just one book. ASTD produces 20 books a year. So as everybody in this room knows, it's not only a resource drain to produce, but it's a resource drain to maintain. And if there's any future changes or updates, it just gets into this nightmare situation. So how does ASTD manage all of this? Well, because we've made this investment in XML, it's really a straightforward process. We make and optimize these transformations between these formats. For anybody that hasn't kind of experienced the what I would call magic of this transformation, that it just works, it's really amazing. And if you've had to do it by hand, it's even more amazing. So what happens at ASTD is I just go in my browse tree, I right-click on the content that I want, I choose the format that I want, and then within about 10 seconds, it appears right there in the browse tree. So those 3 formats that I talked about, the HTML, the EPUB, and the PDF, those are all right there, what you're seeing right now. But what I'm doing now is I'm expanding that drop-down list that you see in front of you to include all those different variants. So over the next 6 months, that drop-down list is going to include PDF with cover page, EPUB for Nook. And so we're going to be able to choose and instantly get any one of those variants. And those projects are very small and very easy and straightforward because we've already made that commitment to XML. So it's just about tweaking and optimizing that transformation. So as a business manager, 2 situations come to mind. So the point at which you've done enough manual conversion to warrant creating a new, more automated process. And that's the kind of frustrated lady on the left there. Or second, the prospect of my boss or sales director walking into my office and saying, hey, can you have all of our stuff ready for a Nook in a month, or a Sony e-reader, or an iPad? So the people on this call need to plan for those situations and need to plan for that capacity. And with XML, I jump at the chance to serve my internal clients with this XML transformation because it's cheap, it's easy, and it's reliable. So let's take an example. Let's take EPUB and talk real specifics here. So there are definitely some issues with EPUB and optimizing EPUB. And if you've done it by hand, then you know some of the trials and tribulations. And something that I'd like to do is actually get a poll from the audience to say, okay, what is your experience with EPUB? And Don, I believe we have a poll to ask the audience.
Anthony, that's correct. If you look on your screen, we have a poll that we would appreciate your input on. It is, what is your experience with eBooks? The polling is open. We'll keep it open for a little bit. The choices are, we currently have all of our pubs in ebook format. We offer some pubs in ebook format, but would like more. We don't have our pubs in ebook, but we want to. We have no plans to offer ebooks.
So while you're, can I continue with the slides while the audience answers the poll question?
Well, I'm gonna close this in 10 seconds and then
okay.
present the results.
Okay, great.
So, going once, going twice. More than 75% of you have voted, so thank you very much for that. So I'm going to close this, and see if I can show, or maybe not. I can tell you the results, Anthony. With 70% of you voting, 37% said we don't have our pubs in ebook format, but would like to. 14% said we currently have all of our pubs in ebook format. And I think maybe I'm sharing that up there. 17% said no plans to offer ebooks, And so it sounds like the great majority, over 46% said we currently have all our files in eBook format. We offer some, and then another 37% said, well, we don't, but we'd like to.
Yep. So it sounds like there's some experience with the EPUB format, and ASTD, our experience with the format was one of, well, some of this stuff just isn't ready to go to market yet. And you can see that this is the same file left on a Sony e-reader, right on an iPad, and you can see that there's a rendering difference, that the table border is actually flipped over the text. Here's another example. You have on the right, the image is full width, but on the left, it isn't. So the auto width of images is a difference. Another difference, again, same file in different devices. You have the alignment of tables, the alignment of images within table cells. You can see that the text on the left, the word common terms, is lifted up above the edge of the image. So there's all these variances that you have to manually QA or look at before I release these EPUBs to market. So it's a big problem to maintain when, again, I'm dealing with hundreds of derivative formats and variations from just one book. So why is this important? Why am I talking about this? Well, who's ever bought an ebook from O'Reilly? So you know that they give you all what industry you're in. There's a growing expectations that publishers, producers of content, will cover all format bases for their customers. Why leave out a certain percentage of your audience just because they have a certain device? Now, this is especially important for the people on the call today that are association or mission-based publishers like me, where you're, quote, serving your members, serving your audience for the good of the industry. So with each great experience that one of your customers has at O'Reilly or at Amazon or on an iPad, it makes you look worse and worse and further behind the 8 ball if you're not keeping up with the big boys. And so here is the big boys calling the shots. They got all the money, and the little guys, have to keep up. The real business issue here is meeting those customer expectations, but it's XML-based publishing that allows me to act bigger than I really am and meet those customer expectations in a cost-effective way. So that's my take on ebook formatting and EPUB and why ASTD does it and how we do it in that way, and kind of the benefits that XML and RSuite is giving to us. So workflow. For time's sake, I'm not going to spend a whole lot on this one. There's plenty of resources out there about XML-based workflow, but just wanted to show that if I log into my admin panel in RSuite, I can see a list of all the workflow actions that ASTD has built within our XML CMS. And the one that I wanted to point out is the basic XML transformation for authoring. And this is what's taken us from an email and spreadsheet kind of work environment to a real digital publishing work environment. It's a process, a transformation that takes us from Microsoft Word to XML and from XML to InDesign. So this has really, really streamlined a lot of the processes that we've been able to establish in the old school way, kind of updated for this kind of new way of doing it. And these processes are constantly being refined and improved and extended, and they're really reaching their tentacles into other parts of the organization. And the real kind of business benefit is that my staff is no longer doing robotic activities. They're not cutting and pasting anymore. I can actually put humans in more thinking, development, strategic positions. And it's reduced our headcount in terms of just the rote production, and has allowed us to be much more efficient with our staffing. So taxonomy and search. So ASTD's content is highly contextual. It's not like medical or scientific content. We have, like I said, over 60 years of it, and it's all highly reusable. And so that not only makes search really difficult, but it puts extra emphasis on the need for good tagging. So one of the more successful and unique content management programs at ASTD has been our tagging program. So what you see here is on your screen is the master tagging Excel spreadsheet. And you can see that there are taxonomy terms on the left-hand column. It's full of keywords that are meaningful to trainers. And then each chapter or each magazine article gets its own column. And then you simply put an X in the corresponding cell. So the people that are doing our tagging, these people are certified master trainers, are certified by us, but they're volunteers. They get a recertification credits for actually tagging our content. So what we do is we send them PDFs of our content, just a regular print PDFs, and we send them this Excel spreadsheet, send them a training document on why tagging is important and how to do it. And then when they're done, they just send us the Excel back, and they keep the PDFs or they delete them or whatever, and we drop the Excel into a hot folder into our CMS, into RSuite, and then magically all of those taxonomy terms are applied to the content. So this is a really smooth and powerful process, and it's a great example for me of how technology is enabling scale and efficiency in core content management processes. So imagine having to give login credentials and train dozens of people on a more complicated process like logging into our content management system. You have rights control, and what if they break something, and oh, I'm doing like tech support for somebody's computer. Everybody has Excel. Everybody can open PDFs. And so this process and the kind of workflow hot folder ingestion process that we built on top of RSuite was really, really powerful for us and enabled thousands of assets in our library to be tagged according to our taxonomy by certified master trainers. So why is this important? It's important because of Amazon. This is an example of one of our best sellers. It's called Tellin' Ain't Trainin'. Amazon is good for us in that it brings a lot of traffic to us and to our products. But Amazon is bad for two reasons. So first, the categorization of this book uses a taxonomy that is completely meaningless for trainers. You see up on the screen now, you can see the look for similar items by category. There's no way that a trainer is going into health, mind, and body / psychology and counseling for this book. The second thing that's bad about Amazon is that they take a really big cut of the profits. So when I did the P&L for XML and did a conversion, and when I did the P&L for purchasing and implementing the RSuite product from Really Strategies, you're darn sure that I mentioned to my boss, who's actually paying the bills, that we would be able to improve the content discovery process and purchasing experience on our own website, which is where we keep 100% of the profits. So it's really, it's a great kind of little nugget to keep in mind if you're trying to convince your boss to pay for something. And here are the search improvements on our site. We actually use a search box called Ativio. It's Attivio, is how you spell it. It blows the Google search box out of the water. It has its own algorithm and entity extraction, but we were able to have it ingest our own taxonomy so that you can see the facets there on the left-hand side of the screen. Those are our taxonomy terms. Those are directly pulled out of the taxonomy terms that are applied to our XML content. So those taxonomy terms, those facets on the left there, weren't there several months ago. Now they are. And we were able to use those terms and improve the search experience on our site using a language that's meaningful to our customers, to trainers. So it's amazing when you see search improvements and you can whittle down a search result set of like 10,000 to maybe a dozen with just 3 clicks using that taxonomy on the left there. Packages, rolling right along. What you see here is a screenshot of the place in RSuite where ASTD staff can piece together a custom book. So a few articles, a few random chapters here, a few random chapters from this other book. It's a Frankenstein book or a Franken book. Now, this isn't a function that's available to the general public, but what ASTD staff can do is instantly become content experts. So if anybody asks one of our staff, what does ASTD have published in the executive training category? Well, we can go get it. We can log into RSuite. We can put this taxonomy term in there. We can find all of the chapters that have been tagged with that. We can put those chapters into a custom PDF bundle or an XML bundle, of which PDF is one of the be arranged on the fly. And we can send it directly to anybody that asks what we have to them in, like, I don't know, 5 minutes. So it's a really powerful way of kind of digging deep into our content and pulling it out and sifting through 60 years worth of it. And anybody who's newly hired to ASTD staff, like let's say salespeople, for example, they can instantly talk very, very in an informed way to other people on the end of the line, because our sales staff are often talking to veterans of the training industry, chief learning officers in organizations who know their training stuff, and they want the very granular parts and very granular segments of our content. So the last thing I'm going to talk about is apps, and again, this is the last kind of piece of the XML ecosystem that we put together at ASTD. None of this stuff was easy. It didn't take, it wasn't overnight that it happened. But the reason why I keep apps at the very end is because this is really the fun stuff. This is the stuff that you work so hard to do to get all your ducks in the row, get your XML clean, get your workflow processes up and running, your core processes, and then the stuff that's cool and fun, you can just start cranking these apps out, and that's really where the fun begins and where all the hard work kind of pays off. So ASTD Streams is the first pure XML application that we've developed. It's kind of a semantic choose-your-own-adventure through the entire ASTD content library. And this is just a demo. It hasn't been released yet. You guys are in on this before it's actually released. So everybody starts their stream from the source page, and this is the source page. It's kind of like the home page. It's a welcome screen. It's written by our CEO. It's rich in training keywords. So you can click on one of those links, and the query is run across the entire database. And what you get back is the most relevant piece of content, which is a topic extracted from a chapter, which is extracted from one of our books in our entire library. And by topic, I mean data topic. I mean what's between the headers. And when you come up with conversion specifications and convert your content into XML, the criteria for those topics is already set. So it's not something that I have to decide in advance as far as what these topics actually are. So you can see here on the screen that the source of that topic is listed right there. It's from the ASTD Handbook of Workplace and Learning and Professionals. And it's a couple of paragraphs long. And while it may be a little out of context, there's always something to learn. So you get the title of the chapter that it came from, you get who wrote it, you get the year that it was published, and of course there's a link to buy the book if you like the topic and you like what you're reading. So the functionality of the app is that you can click on any word or highlight and click any group of words, and the query is run again, and what you get is another topic from another chapter from another book. And all those pieces in this semantic choose-your-own-adventure put together form your stream. So there's hundreds of thousands of different combinations of these topics that you can put together for your own stream. And what it is, it's semantic, so that meaning is derived from the content. You choose what the next piece is. So it's kind of fun, and it's all these little pieces put together. And of course, you can rate each piece. You can share it. You can tweet it. Each one has its own unique URL. So it's totally random and semantically linked. But the best thing, and it's kind of why I'm talking about it today, is I don't have to do anything because it leverages the XML. I don't have to predetermine any chunks. And this is a marketing app. We can leverage our content and expose our customers to our content and let them find the content that's most meaningful to them without us having to do anything. And we expose them to our products in the meantime. So this, for us, is really redefining what an ebook actually is. It's ASTD's stake in the race of, hey, this is what content of the future is actually going to be. So that's the ecosystem, the XML ecosystem that we have at ASTD. Don, that's all I got. Hopefully that was useful for the audience, and hopefully there were maybe one or two questions that came in.
Yeah, Anthony, that was very insightful, and thank you very much. Well, now it's your chance to ask Anthony any questions that you have using the question dialog box there. I've got 3 or 4 of them stacked up, and we'll address those. If we don't get to your question over the course of the next 15, 17 minutes, we will have it posted on the website and get back to you. So, Anthony, the first one is one of our attendees says they have EPUB'd 2 novels, and they are in multiple ebook formats. And any ideas on how to go increase sales of a novel? And I realize it's not quite what ASTM does, but maybe close.
Yeah, I mean, kind of at some level, content is content, although I hate it when people say that. The really, really big issue right now, I think, is if you have a novel, especially with fiction, is what other elements are you going to create that differentiate this book, this ebook from the print edition? And there's been some, if you Google like the future of books, and you can see some really kind of crazy examples of companies kind of putting role-playing games into their books, or even just linking out to videos. But the basic, to answer the question, the basic tenet of sales in terms of, well, product differentiation and why is this product better, you have everything in terms of the author and the content. Is this content good, first of all? But hopefully there would have been some alignment between, hey, this is a book that you're not going to want to put down and you can read it on the bus, or this is a business book, so helping the busy professional consume this content through a mobile device. All those things to remind the customer that, hey, this is a format that can be used anywhere and everywhere is really important, because sometimes they forget, sometimes that connection between the book and kind of where I am whenever I want to access the content is pretty important. That's the first thing. I would challenge publishers to put extra content into their enhanced versions of their ebooks, but I know that that's really difficult, and there's a cost associated to that. There's a cost to creating additional videos or audio or kind of game components to an ebook, and all that stuff has to really be planned from the beginning. So anyway, those are some thoughts in terms of driving sales.
Very cool. Here's another one, and thank you for your questions, and please, we will answer them all. Has ASTD's sales from selling on their own website increased since you went with the system?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a couple things. There's in terms of ways to quantify this change that's happened at ASTD. You have all the really kind of juicy statistics that you can get from something like a Google Analytics. You have time on the site, the number of clicks people use to get to the piece of content that they want. You have returning users. All that kind of paints the picture of the bridge between the investment that we've made and the revenue that we're gaining right now. So just like there's really no directly attributable way in terms of like a landing page and then through what Google calls them Google goals, step 1, step 2, step 3, and then, at step 4, the person purchased something. So there's no way for me to really directly track from RSuite to actually like a product in a cart. But if you look at the aggregate statistics, they are much improved than they were just 6 months ago. That has to do with several different things, not just the fact that we have our content in XML. If you look at the ecosystem that we built, every piece plays a part. One of the big parts to driving sales is to making sure that the way that you segment your content is the same way that you segment your audience. So improving your, let's say you do email marketing. If you segment your email list according to, let's just use ASTD's terms, human capital, talent management, traditional training, and e-learning. That's 4 segments right there. Well, if my content is also segmented, each chapter or each book or each article is assigned one of those 4 keywords, then you have this direct link between the audience and your content. And that can get very, very complicated. I mean, within ASTD's terms, is it e-learning or e-learning? Is it succession planning or is it talent management? A lot of these words, especially because ASTD's content is highly contextual, have multiple meanings. So it's so important to really regulate your taxonomy at all stages of your production, from the beginning to the very end when somebody purchases something. And that's going to be, at least in my experience, the #1 thing that's going to drive sales. And quite frankly, you don't need XML or RSuite for that. But if you're going to scale and you're going to also decrease expenses, then you need to make that commitment.
Very good. Here's another one, kind of interesting. In the electronic world, can audio and video be included in the content management and distribution aspects?
Absolutely. You have to be careful of the end device. So with you can't necessarily play a 30-frame HD video on a Kindle. It doesn't even have color. So you have to really kind of be cognizant of those things, and the different variants really spiders out very, very quickly. So there are embedded videos on the web, and when I talk to people about how they are going to make money in this new world, sometimes there's that whole app versus eBook question. Should I just make an enhanced EPUB, an enhanced eBook, or should I actually make a distinct app that somebody buys for $9.99 from the App Store? So in terms of the production of that, just to answer the question, go all the way back to the very, very beginning of the production process and consider that you have this library of all of your assets. You have the book, of which chapters and topics make up the book. You have a magazine that, several articles make up the magazine. And then you have other assets, videos or audios. ASTD produces hundreds of hours of audio and video a year, especially from conferences. And then you can put together these packages on the fly. Now, it's really, really powerful for me to be able to go to, work with our sales director who has somebody like, let's say, Kaiser Permanente, who has an internal training program, and they want to, just get the content that's going to help them do their jobs better. Well, and the tagging process does for us. Now, video and audio isn't XML necessarily, but it's still, the video and audio that we have in RSuite still uses the same taxonomy hierarchy as everything else. So if I go into RSuite and I search for talent management, what shows up? Chapters, XML, article XML, video, and audio. And it's all right there. And then you can start thinking of, okay, now that I have this stuff, let's get it out and let's figure out what device we need to get it to and oh, can we play audio and video on those devices? So that's really half the battle right there, is actually just organizing all your stuff, which is what a CMS and XML will help you do, even for binary assets like video and audio.
Right, and those are currently stored in your CMS?
Yep, they're stored in my CMS. So if I go to my CMS and I type in a search word, all those things pop up. But actually, for us, we have a customization where I can say, just show me search results that are audio, just show me search results that are video or XML or PDF or whatever.
Oh, very neat. Here's one that's a little bit near and dear to my heart. How long did it take to transform your existing content?
That was actually really it's pretty short time. I mean, it's each PDF that we send, because we're a print-centric organization, so we actually send print PDFs to be then converted into XML. I don't know. It's like we always have stuff out there in process. So it's maybe like a week until it comes back to us, and then it's QA'd, and then it's thrown into our repository. It's not necessarily the time that it takes to convert. It's the amount of time and the confidence that you have in your conversion specifications. So I was lucky enough to do this conversion specification that would apply to all ASTD content from scratch. Other companies are not so lucky, and you have to deal with legacy systems, legacy types of XML, so you have to update and adapt to future content as well. I feel very sorry for those people that have to deal with legacy systems as well, because you don't want some of your library in this one flavor of XML and this other part of your library in another flavor, because it just creates havoc for reuse. If you want to extract all of my chapters that have to do with e-learning, I'm not going to get consistent results with that if it's not using the same type of language. So that amount of time, it was probably, I would say probably a 6-month, 5-month process from very beginning to very end, from when we went into the modeling of our content to when we actually had the finished conversion specifications. I was really nervous. It was really a very difficult process and very difficult decisions to make, but now we're at the other end and we can kind of reap the benefits, especially in terms of the apps. And those are just turnkey applications that they just work.
Right. Another one, would you advise illustrated book publishers to leap into apps rather than focus on ebooks?
This is completely my opinion. The apps for me is a wormhole. It's a foxhole. It's like this Alice in Wonderland place. You just like, oh my God, I'm just getting a headache thinking about it. Apps are, unless you have very specific touch needs, meaning I need to be able to interact with my content with 4 fingers and swipe and that, and kind of reap the benefits of really the device, then there's no reason to make an app. Now, that being said, the stuff like the Adobe Digital Publishing Suite, Woodwing, which is recently bought by Fry Communications, there are companies out there that are catching up to provide frameworks that kind of like, I guess, plug in to XML and plug into current formats and then render that stuff in apps. It's kind of like what WordPress and Blogspot did for, I guess, websites probably 6-7 years ago. Now, to make a website and to have it be really functional and all these little gadgets and widgets, it's like super easy. It's because framework companies like WordPress are offering their services, and now there are companies doing that for apps. So it's going to be really interesting for me. I'll be looking for in a year, who is going to take a leadership position in the industry to provide small publishers with a framework to produce their apps and make apps that really are more than just, hey, I'm going to show the page 15 of the article on an app with nothing else. It's really for all of the hype around the Wired magazine app, it didn't exactly, blow me away. It was really cool. They had a couple different assets on the page that actually were specifically for the iPad, but it wasn't magic. So it's going to be really interesting to see what frameworks come out over the next year. And I'm really looking at the Adobe Digital Publishing Suite.
Very good. Here's one, and I have to say I love this question because hearing you talk, it's very impressive. Did you learn all this on your own, or did you hire a consultant or bring in a new position?
I learned a lot of stuff on my own, but in really, really big decisions, I prefer to divert to the knowledge of consultants, so I know who to blame if something messes up. I'll say this: to make sure that the ship moves forward, that's my job. But there are huge, huge decisions that are going to live longer than I'm going to be here. This commitment to XML and to DITA, not just DITA, okay, so our commitment to XML, and not just XML, but DITA, and not just DITA, but our flavor and our specializations within DITA, that is at least a 5 to 7 year commitment that we're making. Our commitment to RSuite, again, that's a multi-year commitment, and we're here to stay. So those are decisions that I did not want to make on my own. So we went out to a consultant and did a heavy requirements gathering process. And I'll kind of put a big asterisk on there. It's not because we didn't know where we wanted to go. We totally did. And it's not because we didn't, we wanted to just outsource everything to a consultant. It's really because I felt that we needed an unbiased third party to help us make this decision. Because the people within our organization, they're biased. We're a Microsoft house, and we didn't go with a Microsoft product, and there was a reason for that. Everybody within your organization, everybody comes to the table with their own preconceived notions. Having somebody like a DCL or a Really Strategies come to the table with their consulting practice in terms of, hey, we don't care what, we're vendor neutral. You need that I guess advice. And Really Strategies started out as a consulting company, and so they have that background. Are they a product company? Absolutely. Are they trying to sell RSuite? Absolutely. But you have that consulting and that advice. Same thing with DCL is that you have that experience. So I guess to answer the question, it really is about that unbiased third party that's going to really give you the best decision. And I was really happy with the decisions that we made, and we haven't looked back.
Great. One last question, and I've posted the contact information for both Anthony, DCL, and Really Strategies. And your questions, even if you ask them now, we will post them. But one last one. You talked about books in your presentation. Do you have digital versions of your newsletters or magazines? And if so, is this all handled in-house?
Yes, we do. We have an outsourced design firm that actually uses InDesign to craft our magazine into its final form. And then as far as the smaller article, you have blogs, you have magazine articles, you have journals, you have newsletters, all that stuff for which there's really just like a title, a body, an author, a pub date, categories and tags. There's really only like a couple different elements within those content types. All that stuff exists within RSuite, with some exceptions. We're kind of pushing more and more of our content in there. Some of our back catalog from our outdated newsletters isn't in there, but it's going in there. And then what we're doing is we are creating I guess a different version of our website to then pull that stuff out automatically through web services. Now, really, the ball is in the court of our web developer to say, hey, I know that my XML is clean, it's tagged, it's there, it's ready to use. And so we're now building services to extract all this content out. But frankly, we can do that with other organizations. I can go partner with another organization and create a web service between anybody. Reuters is doing that now. It's opened up a web service for a lot of its content as well, and some of its customers, some of its readers are building apps on top of its XML library, which is just incredible to me.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're out of time. Anthony, thank you very much for a very informative presentation. As I mentioned, today's webinar is being recorded, and along with the questions and answers will be posted and made available to you. When you exit, we have a couple of final survey questions for you. We would really appreciate you taking a moment to answer candidly. And the next webinar will be out next month, so we expect to announce it in a few days. And finally, both DCL and Really Strategies will be at the MarkLogic Users Group meeting in San Francisco. That's April 27th through the 29th. If you're going to be there, please stop by and say hello. Thank you for attending. Thank you to our sponsors, DCL and Really Strategies. And a big thank you to Anthony Allen. Great presentation. Have a great Wednesday afternoon. Thanks.